Okay, so we'll look at FEAR2 Project Origin at 21:9. Being a series that I have no prior experience with, this was a title I've been really looking forward to covering. However, not without apprehension that I wouldn't enjoy the horror element. But after a solid amount of playing, I've really come to love this title. It does have issues, but overall it's a snappy shooter with horror elements injected within to keep you consistently on edge without oversaturating it with horror in a way that would turn away those not interested in a seriously scary game like myself. So first up, the ultra-wide support is pretty damn simple to enable. Go into the graphics options and change the option from widescreen yes to no, and that allows any aspect ratio. I don't know why widescreen is an option you have to turn on, but it's okay. Once done, the main menu is still 16:9 with black bars, which is always deceiving as it never fails to make me question if it's running at 21:9 or not. However, once I checked, the gameplay had correctly extended to show off more of the world on the sides of the screen, and the FOV increases to match. I found the FOV perfect, but I'll put an explanation of how to fix the FOV to whatever you desire in the description, as there is no easy FOV slider to change it, and people always have personal preferences on these things. The HUD sticks to 16:9, and strangely, I actually really liked it as such. I don't know why, but this was an occasion where I really thought it was beneficial having it center screen. Maybe it was because I was focused on the middle of the screen waiting for the next jump scare. But I didn't really have time to think about it being in the way. And yeah, so I can't really complain about it. It's odd, I know. Plus, honestly, it's better having it at 16:9 than stretched to 21:9, which clearly it would have had to have been, as the design limits it from being shifted sideways any further without losing parts of the visor line's design. When reading intel, everything is the same as 16:9. However, because when reading intel a 16:9 grey-blue background appears, you have a cutoff when hitting the extra 21:9 screen space, which is definitely obvious, but you aren't really reading intel for long, so it's not something you see much. And this is how all the in-game menus work, including the death screens. Cutscenes are rendered live in-game, so they are ultra-wide, correctly showing more of the left and right of the screen without any stretching or pop-in issues, and the FOV doesn't cause any terrible stretching on the sides. Now there is one initial cutscene starting the game, which is 16:9 with black bars on the sides, but luckily that ended quickly and I haven't come across a similar event since. Performance is great. I could hold a steady 95 FPS on a GTX 980 Ti with everything as high as it possibly could go. However, the game does stutter due to saving, an issue that seems to plague the majority of older titles. So even though you are easily able to graphically run the game, you will still have the gameplay broken intermittently by saving. It's not the end of the world, but nevertheless, I was always aware of it happening. Luckily, saving always happens, as far as I can remember anyway, during quiet moments, so it's not like it affects your fighting in a stressful situation. Now, I don't know if this would be removed, or just it would be decreased if you're on an SSD, I'm running from a hard drive, but it seems like the kind of thing that would still be present even on a very fast SSD. Honestly, I'm not great with horror games, but I didn't find this particularly scary. Admittedly, at the start of the game I was very apprehensive. I really thought I was in for quite a freaky ride. The initial jump scare didn't help things at all, and there is always a perpetually creepy nature to the world that you're exploring. That said, you quickly get used to it. It's nothing like Outlast or Soma. If you are looking for a medium injection of horror into your shooter games, then this is definitely for you. Now, whilst the game is very linear, I had zero issue with this. It didn't feel very restrictive or hand-holding like some games do when going for that dead straight-line gameplay. It has fantastic gore mechanics, paired with the flawless slow-mo that is synonymous with fear. It generates a brilliant shooter that is always good fun, and the slow-mo is very necessary with the fast crawling enemies. However, it does kind of make them a bit too easy. And on that point, it must be stressed you should play this game on hard, as any less and it's just simply too easy. It doesn't pose any kind of challenge. It should also be clear that this isn't your modern shooter. This is definitely what I would call an old school shooter. There's nothing wrong with that though. Now, it's not all perfect. I could definitely argue that the gameplay is very similar the entire time, to the point that you could tire of it after an hour or two, but I found leaving it a day or two and returning meant I kept my interest peaked without getting bored. Furthering this, I really enjoyed having the combat. However, I'm sure that it's the consistent level of fighting that decreases the scare factor. If it were used more sparingly in favour of having your gun used less and wandering the level unarmed, I'm sure this would have been a far more intense experience. However, this could occur the further you get into the game, as I didn't reach the end of the game yet. However, after the first few hours playing myself, this was my experience. However, not one that I take issue with, as it means it is a game for me, and any scarier, and it wouldn't really have sat well with me. I'm generally not looking to get freaked out by games or movies, so it struck a very good balance in my book. I also want to point out there's no controller support, so if you are one to want that ability, you should use Xpadder or DS4 tool in order to play. Overall, it's a great game at 21:9, an interesting story that pulls you in, your drip-fed information on what is happening, how you got where you are, why others are there, and it's a bloody weird game in that regard. But seeing as I picked it up for 50p, it's hard to go wrong, and I'm sure anyone can get it for extremely cheap, so it's worth giving it a go. It is most certainly dated in many ways, however the graphics do still hold up, and it's really the gameplay that is clearly many years behind what we are used to now. But personally, and I'm sure most of you will really enjoy this kind of gameplay if you're into your corridor shooter kind of games. So I hope that gives you some information on how the game runs at 21:9. Give this video a like if you found it helpful, and subscribe for future info. For any other games at 21:9, head over to my channel. Hopefully I've covered it. If I haven't, then leave a comment down below and I'll try and cover it. And if you'd like to donate to the channel, then links to my Patreon page are in the description. See you later.